What is going on, guys? Welcome back. In this video today, we're going to do a quick introduction into Wagtail, which is basically Django as a CMS, as a content management system. You can think of it to be a little bit like the opposite of WordPress. WordPress is everything included, everything works out of the box, you have plugins and everything. And Wagtail is more like an Arch Linux approach. You get the basic idea of a content management system, but nothing works. You even need to define what a blog post looks like. You need to define absolutely everything from scratch. But of course, it's fully customizable. And also, of course, you're not starting completely from scratch like with Flask, but you do have the Django batteries included. It's Django made for blogging and made for CMS purposes. I think this is a super interesting and useful framework, especially for those of you who want to start blogging and maybe want to have full control over their content management system. So if you like this video, let me know by hitting the like button and subscribing. And now let us get right into it. Alright, so this is the framework that we're going to take a look at today, Wagtail, the leading open source Python CMS. As I already mentioned in the introduction, you can think of it to be a little bit like an Arch Linux approach to blogging. You start with absolutely nothing. You do have the Django batteries included because this is basically Django optimized for CMS for blogging. But besides the fact that you have an admin panel and the basic Django features and a little bit of content management stuff already set up, everything has to be defined from scratch. You need to define what a blog post is, you need to define what a homepage is, you need to define what a blog index is. Everything has to be modeled by you, and because of this, of course, it is extremely customizable. So without talking about this too much, let us go and open up a terminal. We're going to start with the setup process, and for this, move into a directory that you want to be coding in. In my case, that is the tutorial directory. And the official installation uses the system level pip install. You can do that. That's probably the most simple way to do that. You just use pip or pip3 install Wagtail, and then you just use Wagtail as a CLI tool. That is possible. I don't do that usually. I use UV. So in my case, instead of saying pip install, I'm going to say UV init to create a UV project. For those of you who don't know it, UV is a Rust-based Python package manager, allows you to install your dependencies locally on a project by project basis. It's also faster. It's just the preferred way, especially on something like Arch Linux. So you say UV init to create a project and then UV add. This would be the equivalent to pip install Wagtail. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how you install Wagtail. The important thing is that you have Wagtail installed. And now what we need to do to create a new project with Wagtail is we need to just run the CLI tool. Now we can do that with UV run if you're also using UV. Otherwise, you can just type Wagtail start. I would have to do UV run Wagtail start, or another alternative if you're using UVs, you can also say source venv bin activate to activate the environment, and then you can also use Wagtail like this. So Wagtail start, and then you can call the application whatever you want to call it, my site for example, and enter the same name again for the directory. This will create a project here now. And for those of you guys who know Django already, let me first, for the sake of making this less confusing, remove the files we don't need, the main py and the readme file. But those of you guys who know Django already will feel quite familiar with Wagtail, because if you go into the directory, you can see you have a very basic Django setup. You have a requirements.txt file, you have a managed py file, which allows you to do the migrations, run the server and everything. You have the basic my site directory here, the core directory if you want to call it that, with the settings, base, def, and production here in this case, with the URLs and everything. And we also have an application already, which is the home application, and here we have models and templates. That is the very basic thing that you also see in a Django application. And that's the cool thing about Wagtail. If you know Django, you also know Wagtail to a certain degree, but of course you don't need to know Django. You can also learn Wagtail from scratch without first learning Django. It's just easier to get started with it. But before we code anything, let's see what we get out of the box. How do we actually run this now? The first thing that we need to do is we need to create the proper database models. These are already defined by Wagtail, but we need to do the migration. Remember, for those of you who know Django, we usually do make migrations to create the migrations and migrate to actually apply the migrations. The migrations already exist, so we don't need to create them, but we need to say Python manage py migrate to actually apply them. This is going to fill up the database with all the necessary tables to make Wagtail work. So there you go. This is quite a bit. And the second thing that we need is also a super user, because everything in Wagtail happens in the admin panel. You fill up the website with content in the admin panel. And for this, you need an admin user, a super user. And we can create that by saying Python manage py create super user. I'm going to call mine neural9. I'm going to give it no email. Password is going to be neural9. Too similar to the username, I'm going to just allow this anyway, and we have a super user now. And then the last thing that we need to do to get started is we need to run the server. This can be done by saying Python manage py run server. By the way, if this is too quick, remember this is a quick introduction. This is not a crash course on Wagtail. I'm not going to show you all the different aspects. I just want to show you the concept of Wagtail. And if you want a more detailed video, you can let me know in the comments section down below. And I've forgot an R here. So run server, and this now runs on localhost port 8000, and that is the default welcome page. So here we don't have anything interesting, but I can also go now to /admin, and this is going to take me to the Wagtail admin panel. Here I can now log in with the super user I created, so neural9, and this is what it looks like. So what we have is we have pages, we have images, documents. Basically, pages is the most important thing. We have the home page. I can also edit it, but you will see that there's nothing I can do here. I can change the name, but I cannot add content to this page. I can go and try to add child pages, but then again, I only have a title. And the reason for that is because we have not defined what a home page, or any page for that matter, looks like. So we don't have a definition that a page has text and images or whatever. We just have the default page title and nothing else. This is what it means to start from scratch. So let's go back to our page to see what it looks like again. Let's see if we can figure out how to remove all of this here, this default welcome, and just add hello world instead, just so we know how this works. For this, I'm going to open up a second terminal. Open, of course, the editor of your choice. You don't have to use NeoVim in the way I do it. You can use VS Code or something that makes more sense. But in my case, I'm going to use NeoVim. So I'm going to open it in the terminal here, my site. And of course, what we're looking at is the home page. So let us look into the home directory. And here you will see the two important files are models.py, which is basically just a homepage model with nothing in it defined except that it inherits from the default page of Wagtail. And we have templates, and templates are basically HTML files. This one is the welcome file, and this one is the basic homepage layout. And you can already see what we have to do here to remove the default welcome screen. We have to, on the one hand, delete the welcome page HTML. I can do that here quickly. And we also can remove these comments, and not just the comments, but also the line below them. So I can remove this CSS reference here. I can also remove the include of the homepage. And later on, I'm going to add some extra CSS here. So I'm going to keep this for now, but that would now be an empty homepage. And instead of loading the content from the welcome page, I can now create a heading of size 1, which is the largest one, and I can just type hello world. And of course, if we want to, we can also delete the CSS file because we don't need it. It's in static CSS. Remove this. Then we can close everything. And now if I don't even know if I have to restart, I can probably just reload the page and we have hello world. Of course, we still have this icon here because we're logged in. This is the admin interface. I can always do stuff here, but hello world is now the content of the homepage. But of course, we're not installing Wagtail to just have static content websites. We want to have a content management aspect here. I want to be able to use the admin panel to fill up the homepage and all the other pages with content. Now, for this to work, we need to define what the content on a specific page looks like. So let me open up here again my site, and we're going to go into home models. This defines what a model page, a home page looks like. And by default, it just inherits from the page, which has a title. Now we want to add an additional field. The simplest one to add here to see the effect is a rich text field. This just allows us to add headings and numbered lists and images and all that. So let's try this. Let's go and say from wagtail.fields import rich text field. And now once I have this, I can say there is a field called body, and body is going to be a rich text field, an optional one, so black equals true. And important now, I also need to add this body to the content panels. So I need to say content_panels is equal to page.contentPanels, and then plus, so the existing content panels of the default class plus, and here I'm going to add now body. So this will add it to the model. This is on the database level, but of course I also need to adjust the template to actually render the rich text that we have here. So I have the body, I have the content, I also want to show it. For this, I'm going to go below hello world, and I'm going to use 2 curly brackets and say page.body, and I'm going to use a filter by using the pipe symbol, which is called rich text. Now, in order to be able to use this filter, or maybe it's called tag, we have to load the Wagtail core tags. So up here, I'm going to say curly brackets, %% load Wagtail core underscore tags. This is because this tag here, rich text, requires this to be loaded. Otherwise, we don't know what it is. All right, so this is done. Now, what we need to do in this case, since we changed a database model, is we need to make a migration and migrate. So I'm going to stop the server. I'm going to say Python manage py, make migrations. This is basic Django stuff. You do it with any Django application. And then Python manage py migrate. This is going to apply it. And now I can also run the server again. And when I reload this, we don't see anything because of course we didn't change the page. But if I now go to the admin panel here and I edit home, I'm not just going to be able to edit the title. I also have the body here. So I can now start typing stuff. I can say H2, for example. This is my home page. Hello world again, or something like this. And down here, I could do stuff like a numbered list, 1, 2, 3. And I can also add an image. So /image. This is going to allow me to upload an image here. Let's use test image as the title. Let's choose file. Maybe I can go with one of my thumbnails, OpenClaw, for example, upload. Then I want it to be full width, insert image, and then I can publish. So now if I go back to home, this page is published with all the changes. And this is, of course, dynamic content because I can change this in the home page. I can just change the content of this body, of this rich text field here, and it is changed on the home page here as well. Now, in case I want to use extra styling, what can I do? I can go back to my HTML template. We still have this extra CSS block here. So I can go back to static CSS where we deleted the file, and I can create a file called homepage.css. There, I'm going to just paste some stuff. I don't want to write CSS in this tutorial here. So that's just some very basic, trivial styling. And then in the HTML CSS extra block here, extra CSS block here, I can just enter the link. This is done like this, just a basic link, rel style sheet, type CSS, text CSS, and then the href, this is the important part. We use curly brackets, %static to load the static directory. This of course requires the load static up here, so don't delete that. And then CSS, which is this directory, homepage CSS, which is this file. So we can write this and then we can reload. There you go. We do have some basic styling now. But of course, we're not here to create home pages. We're here to create a blog. So for this, we're going to start a new app, a new Django app. How do we do this? We do this the same as in every other Django project, Python manage py start app, and we're going to call this one blog. So what is an app? An app is just another directory like home. If we open up our editor here, you can see home looks like this, blog looks like this. Only difference is we don't have a templates directory and we have some stuff like views that we're not going to use. But models is here, and models defines again what a blog post looks like. We're going to have to define here, first of all, what a blog post looks like, but also what a blog index page looks like. So we're going to have a page that lists all the blog posts, and the blog posts themselves are going to be a separate model that defines what an individual blog post consists of. Now, one important thing, in order to be able to use the blog application, we need to add it to our Django project. So we need to go to the core directory here, the my site. We need to go to settings, base, and in installed apps, we need to add a string for it, blog in this case. So let us go back to models now and start by defining the first class, which is going to be the blog index page. And this, of course, has to inherit again from page. So let's pass here. And page, remember, is from wagtail.models. And again, we want to also use Wagtail fields, rich text field. And the blog index page is going to be quite simple. Intro is going to be a rich text field. We're not going to leave it blank. And I'm going to say again, content panels is equal to page.content panels plus, and then intro. Or actually, for the sake of simplicity, let's just say blank equals true as well, so we don't have to fill this. But that is our block index page now. Now the block page will be a child page of the block index page. This is important because by having this child-parent relationship, we can access the parent page and the child page by using attributes, which is important when you want to list, for example, all the blog posts on the block index page. So let's create the second one. Block page is also going to inherit from page here. And it's also going to have an intro. Let's model this one as a basic Django character field with a max length of 250. This is also possible. Then let's say a date is equal to the model's date field. We're going to call this one the post date here. Then the body is going to be a rich text field, again with blank equals true. And then we're going to say also here content panels is equals to page. Let me just copy this here before I type this manually. But it's not going to be just intro. It's going to be date, intro, and body. Now, once again, these are the models. This is what it looks like in a database. To actually see something, we need templates. We need HTML templates. And for this, we have a naming convention. The templates have to have the same name as the classes. So I go here to block now. I create a directory called templates. I then create in this directory another directory called blog. This is just the convention. You call it the same as the application. So blog templates blog, or down here it is home templates home. That's just how you do it. And in this blog directory now we create a new file called blog_index_page.html. Probably my camera is blocking this right now, but you can see what the name is here, blog index HTML. And instead of defining this from scratch, I'm just going to copy the home page and remove the stuff that I don't need. So I'm going to paste this here. Same thing is going to happen for the blog_page.html. And you can see I have some issues with the syntax highlighting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save. I'm going to quit and start new Vim again. This is just a thing that I have to do here to make this work. But now I have the proper Django, HTML Django syntax highlighting. And a couple of things we don't need here. I'm not going to use static. I'm not going to use style sheets here. I'm also going to use a different title, template, block index, for example. And we're not just going to say page body rich text. We're not going to say hello world. We are going to render now all the blog posts that we have. So let us start with a simple heading of size 1, which is going to show us the page title. So that's going to be 2 curly brackets here, page.title. Of course, don't forget the H for the heading, closing tag. And then we want to iterate over the, or first of all, we want to show the page intro as well. So here, page.intro, which is rich text, is going to be shown here. And then we want to iterate over the blog posts that are child pages of the blog index page. So for this, we're going to use curly brackets, %% for post in page.get_children. Don't forget to close this with an end for. Then we're going to define a heading of size 2. We're also going to close this heading of size 2. And it's also going to have an anchor tag. So it's going to have a link basically to something. And the text of this link is just going to be the post title. So post.title. And the link for this one, we're going to use curly brackets with % again. We're going to say page URL and then post dot nothing, just post. So that is going to be the title. And then to get the specific information or content of the post, we need to do it differently. We can use double curly brackets here to say post, but we cannot just say post intro. We need to say post.specific.intro and also post.specific.body. And of course, don't forget the rich text. But that is just a convention. We're going to see in a second how we can also do it differently, but that is what you have to do. You have to say post specific intro, post specific body. Only for the title, you don't have to do that. So that is now for the index page. Let us go to the blog page. Here, basically, again, get rid of static, call this template blog or something like this. Get rid of the CSS, get rid of the hello world. And let's start with a page title in a heading of size 1. And then we can say page.intro and also page.body rich text. Super simple. So in order to run this now, of course, we need to do a database migration again. So Python manage py make migrations. This is creating now the block index page and the block page. We have a file that defines this. And now to actually apply this, we say migrate. This creates the respective database tables. And now we can run the server again to actually see that this works. Of course, we're not going to see it on the home page. We have to go into the admin panel. We can go to home and we can click this button here, add child page, because we're going to have the home page. We're going to have the block index page, which is a child of home. And then we're going to have the block pages, which are childs of the block index page. So here you can see block index page is an option. I can click on it. I can say block as a title, and I can give it some content. Here we have all the blog posts. Then maybe I can say heading of size 3, blog posts, something like this. I can take this, I can publish it. Now I can go into this page. I can click on it again. Click up here on block, click the plus sign again to add a block page, an actual block page. And here I can do something like my first post. I can choose a post date like tomorrow. I can say this is my first post. And I can also add some content like a numbered list, for example, 1, 2, 3. I can also add an image as we did before. You can also use the same one if I want to, left aligned this time. And then I can also take this, publish it. And when I go now to my homepage, nothing happens. But if I type /block, you will see that I have my block index page here with a link to my actual post. So I can click on this as well. And here is the blog post. Of course, no styling or anything, but that is the simple way to do that. Now, maybe you encounter the error that you don't find /block, maybe because you called the page differently, because the slug, so to say, is determined by the name that you give or by the title that you give to this page. So you can go to edit here. You can keep the title to whatever you set it, like blog, post, index, for example. And you can go to the promote section and still force the slug to be block if you want to. This is what you use in the URL. So we can publish this now with the changes, but that's still going to be the proper path. Now, maybe on the blog page itself, it would be useful to have some back button. For this, we can use the parent attribute. Also an interesting thing to show here. So let's go back to the blog page here and let's add a button, which is going to be an anchor tag with a certain href. This href is going to be the parent URL. So it's going to be page.get_parent_URL/a, and here we can say return to block. We don't even need to restart for this. I can just reload, and here now return to block will not get me to the blog page. Of course, because I said get parent URL, it's get parent.url. So we get the parent object and from this object to URL. Now we go back to the block index. And I think this error here is just because we're skipping the heading hierarchy, because I think if I go to the blog post index, we're using a heading of size 3 and not 2, which is not considered a good practice. So this should remove the problem. There you go. Now I also wanted to show you a trick that makes it easier to iterate over the post without using this specific notation all the time. We can use a with statement after the for loop. So I can say here %% in curly brackets with post.specific as post. And by doing that, I can access everything just via post. Here we need an end with statement, but then everything in here can be just post.intro, post.body. That is just a nice workaround that we can use here. Now, I don't want this video to explode in length, so because of this, I'm going to speed up a little bit, and what I'm going to show you now, I'm going to oftentimes copy paste. Again, this is not a crash course. I'm not showing you all the different aspects here. I want to show you what this framework is capable of and not talk about the exact syntax of everything and how to do it, but I want to show you a couple of things. First of all, if I have this blog post index now, what happens is if I create in this index a new blog post and it's not actually ready yet, so I say whatever, and then I decide to post it at some point, and then I have some intro and some body and whatnot, and I save it as a draft, then this is part of my database. I do have this post here. but also it is shown actually in the block index, which is of course not what you want. This is because we're always accessing the child elements. What we want to do instead, a more professional way to do this, would be to override the context and to pass an object of blog posts that are actually meant to be displayed. So for this, we would go into block index page, into this model here, and overwrite the method called getContext. I copy paste this now to keep it simple. It's not very difficult to understand. What we do here is we get the context that is passed by default. So we get the context based on the request from the super, so from the parent class basically. What we do then is we define what block pages we're interested in. We're interested in the child pages that are live, so actually published, ordered by the first published at field. So we want to have them in descending order, newest first, and we want to have them only if they're actually published. Then we add this to the context and then we return the context. So let's save this. And what of course needs to happen now is we still have the same template. We still have the index page that just iterates over all the child elements. We now should only iterate over the thing that was passed. So over the block pages. So I can write this, and then when I reload, we don't even need to restart. You can see that it only shows the post when it's live. I can also now publish this one. I can go into the post and click publish. That is going to make it live. It's going to be shown here now, and it's going to also be shown above the first blog post because we're sorting by first published at in descending order. Another thing that I want to show you is how we can customize this in a way that I can not just enter text. I want to have maybe custom fields. For example, one use case for my blog, if I create one, would be I want to have code examples. I want to be able to write code with syntax highlighting and everything. And for this, what I need is I need a component that allows me to enter blocks of code. So again, I'm going to rush through this a little bit, but I'm going to say from Wagtail import blocks, and I'm also going to say from Wagtail fields import streamfields. Then I'm going to add a class, which I'm going to copy paste here, called code block. What it has here is a struct block. I have choices. I can choose Python, JavaScript, Bash, HTML, CSS. Very simple stuff. Default is Python. We have the actual code, which is the text block. So we have a choice block and a text block. And then we have a meta class here that defines, first of all, the icon is code, but also the template for this code block is going to be a separate template in blocks, code blocks. So in the templates directory in block, I want to have another one called blocks. And here now I'm going to create a new file called codeblock.html. And it's just going to be a very basic code block, like pre-formatted code, class, language, whatever, and then value code. But of course, this doesn't work just like this because now I have the code block. I define what it is, but of course I still want to have text content. So now I want to have multiple fields, multiple alternating rich text fields and code blocks. And how I do that is by using a stream field. So I will redefine body. I will do this down below before I delete the first one. Instead of having a rich text field, now I have a stream field, which has paragraph code. Code is code block, paragraph is rich text block. And here we have use JSON field true, blank true. I can remove this one now. And this alone should be enough. I can now go back here, stop the server, Python, manage py, make migrations. Then I can say migrate. And now, of course, we have an issue with the existing data. So what I want to do here is I'm going to remove the SQLite database. This is going to require us to create a new super user, but that's not a problem. So first of all, Python manage py migrate, and then Python manage py create super user. Same as before, except there you go. Now, of course, we don't have our blog posts anymore. So let me run the server here again. We're going to have to do everything from scratch. We can go into admin here, neural 9, and now we do the same thing as before. Home, create a child page, block index page, call it block. We don't have to write anything here. Publish, go into block, and create a blog post. And here now you can see when we go to the body, everything else stays the same, but when we go to the body, we can choose between paragraph and code. So let's say my tutorial, that's going to be a tutorial post. It's going live tomorrow, whatever the intro is. And now here I can say paragraph, hello. I can also add heading of size 2, hello again, whatever, same thing that we had before. And now I can say plus code and add some Python code like import OS list here. Everything here. I don't know. Very random, publish. But also one thing that we see now is that we cannot just use the rich text template filter anymore, because now we have a block that needs to be included, not just rich text that has to be rendered. So we need to go back here. We need to go to the block page. And instead of saying body rich text, we're going to say include block page body. And the same thing is going to also be done in the index page here, like this. And in this case, of course, it's post body. So reload here. Go to the post, and you can see we have import OS list here. Of course, you can add some CSS or JavaScript to actually do the syntax highlighting here. And by the way, just to show you that I'm not lying, we can go here to the My Site section, templates, base, and there is a global JavaScript section down here. So here we include the prism highlighting, and up here somewhere we should also have global style sheet. And here we can also load this. By doing that, we get blocks like this: import OS list here, proper formatting with Python. Now, the last thing I want to show you is the concept of a snippet. Snippets are basically things that we need in the database models, but we don't need pages for them. For example, authors, we might not want to have an author page, but we still want to have authors as entities in the database that have a profile picture, a name, and anything and everything, but we don't need to have a landing page where we can go to the author page. So it's not going to inherit from page, it's going to be a snippet. For this, we need to import something. We're going to import from wagtail.snippets.models the register snippet decorator. And also from Wagtail admin panels, I'm going to import the field panel. And one more thing, also from model clusters, or model cluster.fields, import parental many to many field. And the rest I'm going to also copy paste again to keep it simple. We have a class author here, extends from or inherits from the basic Django model. You can see we annotated with register snippet. This is a decorator. And we have a basic name, an author image, which is a foreign key to wagtail images.image. And basically that's it. We just have an author class. Now we can link this author to the blog page. And one blog post can be written by many authors. So we're going to say authors is a parental many-to-many field, because of course authors can also write multiple blog posts. That is going to be modeled like this. And in order to add it to the content panels, we can also add the field panel to decide how it's going to be displayed. And that is going to be here, field panel, authors, widget is going to be forms.checkbox select multiple. For this, we need Django forms. So from Django import forms. And this is going to allow us to select easily in the admin panel the authors. And finally, on the blog page template, we also want to show the authors. So maybe after the intro, we want to do that, or maybe after the title, even before the intro, we're going to add this simple with and for combination. We're going to just say authors are equal to page authors all. If there are authors, we're going to say posted by unordered list. For author in authors, we are going to show the image and we're going to show the name. That is all we need. So we can close this now. We're going to go into my site. In the my site directory, we're going to say Python manage py make migrations, then migrate, and then run server, which is already running. So that's not going to work. Let's try again. And we do get a problem. And the reason we get a problem is because we're working with images, but we didn't load the respective tags. So let us go into the tutorial directory, into my site. I forgot one thing in the template. Because in order to use images, to work with images, we need to go to the template and also load Wagtail images tags, not just Wagtail core tags. So I'm not sure if we need to restart for this. No, we don't. And this one doesn't have an author right now. So let's go into the admin panel again. Let's go to my tutorial. I cannot add any authors here because we don't have any, but you can see we have snippets now. I can go to snippets, I can go to authors, I can create a new author. Let's call him Florian, for example. I can choose an image. For now, let's go and say, I don't know, some of the thumbnails again here, upload, save. And now I can use this author. Maybe let me create a second one for this. Let's use a different thumbnail upload. Now we have two authors. When I save this one, I can go to the page, I can go to the blog, I can go to the tutorial post, And down here now I can create which author contributed. I can save and publish. And then you can see the authors are displayed here. Of course, all of this can be done in a more beautiful way, but that is how you could do something like this. And now the very last thing I want to show you before we end this video is a news template. This is just for you to see what it could look like when you're done, when you have everything set up. This is one of their official projects that they showcase. For this one, you need to set it up properly. You can either do it exactly like they tell you here if you just use your Python installation. If you use UV, you need to do things slightly differently, but it's not complicated at all. You basically go into a directory. Let's go to tutorial again, or actually let me create a separate one, tutorial 2, just to keep it clean. Here now I'm gonna initialize a UV project again, UV init. I'm gonna remove everything except for the PyProject.toml. So also the dot files and dot folders. So rm are everything that starts with dot, so also the Git stuff. We just have the PyProject.toml here. Then we're going to start this project. We're going to use Wagtail. So we're going to say uv add Wagtail. And then we're going to use this command here, this start command from the official GitHub repository. We're going to say, let me clear this so you can see this better. uv run and then the command Wagtail start, and the template is the GitHub repository. Then once we have this, we can go inside of it, or actually we do have it here already. Then I can say uv pip install -r requirements txt. This is going to install everything that we need to run this template. And then the commands are also listed here. You need to do make load data and make start. So in our case, uv run make load data. This also does the migrations and everything. Then we can clear and say uv run make start. That is going to start the application, run server. As you can see, we can open this on localhost. That is the template. And the interesting thing, of course, is not just the site, but also the admin panel. So we can go in here, default is admin and the password is password. You can log in and you can see what this looks like. So here we have the individual posts, we have the hero call to action, we have the body, we have the different statistics, objects and entities and everything, featured section. So this is already a project that works, and you can play around with this. Of course, in the admin panel, you can see what features it has. You can see how to add stuff, how to add child pages and everything. And then you can also see the corresponding code. So you can go into the code base and see all the different forms and all the different applications and models. What do they define here? How do they do it? This is, of course, very advanced. But if you're someone who learns better by playing around with code instead of watching tutorials or going through courses, that is probably the thing you want to be looking at. So that's it for this video today. I hope you enjoyed it and hope you learned something. If you want to see a more detailed crash course on Wagtail, let me know in the comment section down below. Like the video. If this video performs well, you guys are interested in it, I'm going to make a more in-depth crash course. This was more like a quick introduction showing you this tool, explaining what it can be used for. It is perfect for those of you who want to build a blog but don't want to use a tool like WordPress that gives you everything out of the box. You want to build it yourself from scratch. You want to customize it to the maximum extent. This is who this is for. So let me know in the comment section down below if you like this video, hit the like button. Also, in case you're interested, on my website, you will find a services tab and a tutoring tab. There you can contact me if you need help with a project, if you need a freelancer, a consultant, if you need someone to work on a project with you. You can contact me at the bottom of these pages via LinkedIn or email. Besides that, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell to not miss a single future video for free. Other than that, thank you much for watching. See you in the next video and bye.